Here we are, Math B, Fall Final Notes, page 4, last page. So here we're talking tax, tip, and markup. It's the most recent things we've seen. Remember, the tax and tip and markup, it's what you add to the cost of something. So whatever the original amount is, it's an additional, and that little bit you pay, the tax, the tip, or the markup, is typically based on a percentage. It's based on a percentage of an original amount. I should say the word of here, not to. So in class, remember what we showed? We showed you have an original amount, and some portion of it, some percentage of it, we added so that my total was the combination of the original. That's getting kind of small there, I apologize. Plus the tax, plus the tip, plus the markup. That was kind of the visual that we did for it. But this was the 100%. This was the original. The original was 100% cost, and then this little bit extra was the tax or the tip. But it was some little extra percentage based off the original price. Let's work a problem together. If sales tax in Reno is 6%, if sales tax is 6% in Reno, Nevada, then how much tax will you pay for a $150 coat? How much will the coat cost altogether? Clearly labeling your answers. Hey, notice there's two questions here. The first question is, how much tax will you pay? The second question is, how much will the coat cost altogether? So there's two questions I have to answer. Now let's take them one at a time. So I want to find what's the tax on a coat that's $150. Well, literally what you're asking is to find 6% of $150. Hey, that looks a lot like all the other stuff we're just doing, right? What is 6% of $150? We could set up a proportion and do that, but there is another method, and it looks like this. We take our percentage and we write it as a decimal. So 6% as a decimal is 0 and 6/100, because right, 6%, let's just write this again, is 6 out of 100. We say 6/100. Isn't that how we write 6/100? Of becomes multiply times 150. So here's a little decimal multiplication problem. And I'm going to do it to the side here because I see a lot of zeros, so this should go pretty quickly. All right, this is not going to generate anything, so this is the only thing I have. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 5 is 30. Put down the 0 and carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 3 is 9. And I have two place values here, right? 1, 2. And so I'm going to move my decimal point over 2. 1, 2. So what does this mean? This is the tax. So there's $9 tax on a $150 coat in this case. But this is the tax. The $9 is my tax. That's not the price of the coat. Coat's $150. So how much would the coat cost altogether? Well, the coat altogether, there's the price, $150, plus the tax, plus $9, or $159. So if I was to sort of look at it this way, the 100% is the $150. That's right. There's $150 plus the little portion of it, the tax. 150 plus $9, $159. Not all the classes discuss discount, but discount is the same thing as tax, tip, and markup, but instead of adding, you subtract. So it's based on a percentage of an original amount. Based on a percentage of an original amount. So there's kind of two ways we saw how to do this. One is the shoe store is offering a 25% discount on any purchase. How much will you save on shoes that normally cost $80? How much will you pay for the shoes? Oh, look at the same thing again. There's two questions. How much will you save? How much will you pay? Well, I get a discount, right? So, a little visual here real quick. If the original price, what is the original price? It represents 100% represents the original price of $80, and I get 25% off. Okay, that's conveniently I can divide this thing up into 4 pieces, right? Each worth 25%. Then 1/4 of 80 is 20. So each one of these is $20. But I can also do the same thing. Let's find my discount the same way. Find 25% of 80. So I can go like this. I can go 2500ths times 80. Many of you might already see that, hey, 25% is the same as 1/4. So I can also do what's 1/4 times 8. And even that's even easier, right? Because it's just 8 over 8 is the same as 8 over 1. And so I have 8 over, 80. I have 80 over 4, or $20. But this will work out the same way as well. So this would generate $20. So what does this mean? This is the discount. This is the amount. This is the amount. Oops, I see I'm running out of space here. This is the amount I'm saving, right? So what will I pay? Well, I'm going to pay $80, the price. So here's the original minus the discount. So minus 20, $60. That's my sale price. But hey, if I notice something, consider this. If I get, see, this is 25%, right? If that's 25%, that's my discount, right? Well, what does that make this? What does that make? Let me do a different color so I don't. What is this? Well, isn't this how much I pay of the original? Yeah, 20, 40, 60. As a percentage, what is it? Well, so the sales price, I should say that, can also be seen this way. Sales price is 75% of the original price. So the nice thing about this is I have this problem to do. So this calculation tells me what the sale price would be directly. Where this calculation, I first found out what the discount was, then I had to subtract it. So the other alternative is just to see how much of the original price am I paying. I happen to be paying 75%, right? Because each one of these is 25%. Don't confuse the percent representation with what it means as far as money. But again, it's the proportional thinking. I'm using one relationship, percentage, to describe another relationship, amount of money. Okay, last column. Some helpful details to recall. A fraction is a division problem. We can't seem to say that enough. Reduce before computing. Sometimes reducing to a certain value can ease calculation. That was the case when, it's nice when you set up a problem that looks like this, 10n equals 37. So if I have a situation where I want to reduce, say I have something that looks like this, 4 over 20. I could reduce this to 1 over 5, but it might work out better to leave it as 2 over 10 to set up a dividing by 10 situation. Okay, some last minute things. Finding 10% of a number. Shift decimal left one place. So what is 10% of 64? We'll do it once. $6.40. Finding 1% of a number. Well, shift decimal left 2 places. Places. So what's 1% of 64? So I would go over once, twice. It's going to be 0. So it's going to be 64 cents. What's finding 5% of a number? Well, 5% is half of 10, right? 5 is half of 10. So what's half of 10%? Well, 10% was $6.40. So 5% is just half of this. What's half of 6? Half of 6 is $3. What's half of 40 cents? 20 cents. The beautiful thing about being able to find 10 and 1 and 5% quickly is you can combine these. So what's 16%? Well, 16% is 10% plus 5% plus 1%. So what's 16% of 64? Well, heck, it's $6.40 plus 64 cents. No, I'm sorry, 5%. 5% was $3.20 plus 1%, 64 cents. So just knowing these, I can kind of put together and make myself an adding situation. Remember that when you add decimals, you must line up the decimal. With multiplying, it's not the same issue, but when you add and subtract, you must line up the decimal points. So I just add these together, and that looks like 4. 4 and 2 is 6. 6 and 6 is 12. Carry the 1. The decimal point comes straight down. 1 and 6 is 7, plus 3 is 10. So 16% of $64, right here. So this is 16% of 64. And let's do a double check, because this is the same thing. 16%, remember, is, as a decimal, is 1600ths times 64. So let's do a quick double check with the calculator right here. Does the calculator showing up? So we'll turn this puppy on. We'll clear. So what is 0 and 1600 on 0 and 1600ths times 64? So if this makes sense, we should get that value right there. And lo and behold, there it is. Same value, 10 and 2400ths. You see that okay? 10 and decimal point's a little hard to read there. There it is, 10 and 2400ths. Well, not only can you add pieces together, you can also scale them, make them bigger or smaller. So what's 30% of 64? Well, I know what 10% of $64 is. That was $6.40, right? This is 10%. So 30% is just multiplying 10% by 3. 10 times 3 is 30. So I just multiply this by 3. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 1 is 19. So 30% of $64 is $19.20. And we can double check it really quickly by just doing this calculation. So 30% is 30/100ths times 64. Here's our last little calculation to check. So 30/100ths times 64. What do we get? We get 19. Can you see that? There's 19 and 2/10. But 19 and 2/10 is the same thing as 19 and 20/100ths. So a match. I do hope these notes help. Use them wisely. Be prepared. You can do this work. Wish you all the best. Have a nice weekend.